What's up, gamers? It's Nova, your favorite virtual adventurer, and welcome to a new series called A Splash Of, where I talk about games I finish on stream. Today, I will be talking about the original Resident Evil from 1996 for the PlayStation, which marks the beginning of my BioSaga, which is me going through every Resident Evil game back-to-back, in release order, completely blind. Now, I have been vaguely aware of the Resident Evil franchise over the years. I mean, I grew up around gaming. Of course I've heard of Resident Evil. But I wasn't so sure, like, did it age well? How was this playthrough gonna go? Was this even worth doing? Am I gonna regret playing this game? Well, let me tell you, this game fucking rules. I ended up enjoying this game way more than I expected, and all the things that I thought would make me hate the game, I feel added to the experience. Things that people always complain about, things like tank controls, fixed camera angles, or like the door loading screens, I thought they were going to make me miserable. But the amount of tension that they add to the gameplay, the not knowing what's around the next corner, I'm going to walk through a door, what am I going to be met with? Like, that little bit of tension added so much to the experience for me. And you got to remember, this game came out in 1996. Games were different back then. And I went in with that mindset, and I felt like even the clunky tank controls worked in its favor. Once you get used to them, they're really not that bad, because the whole game is designed around that gameplay element. Now, I would understand if it was a typical third-person game and you're stuck in tank controls, you're like, what the fuck, this doesn't work. But no, this game was built on it, and I think it worked great. You literally won't know if you're prepared for the next corner, for the next room, until there's a hunter lunging at your face. Which, by the way, can I just talk about that first encounter with the hunter? I was just like, what the fuck, who is this man barging into the mansion? Like, who is this? Up until then, it was like, okay, sure, like creepy plants and zombies and stuff, but then there's this, like, swamp monster that's like, like, what the fuck? And they ended up being a fucking menace as well through my whole playthrough, but now I've lived that experience. But you know what didn't age well? Fucking ink ribbons. This is probably my least favorite part of the first game. Now, for those who don't know, ink ribbons are a collectible. Sometimes they're hidden in the game, not in plain sight. And the function behind them is you need them in order to save your game. And they can be hidden. And you can run out. Who thought this was a good idea? Honestly, who sat down and was like, oh yes, let's link saving to a depletable resource? Now, I do understand what they were going for. They were going for, like, you have to manage your inventory, you have to plan strategically. Oh, is it a good time to save yet? Oh, I'm really stressed out, wondering if I'll be able to make it through this. Like, that was part of the experience. And back then, if you failed to run because of not enough ink ribbons, you'd start over. You would go back and be like, okay, let's be a little bit more cautious with how I use them. But with a modern lens going into this game, that was my biggest gripe, and I will admit I did end up having to use save states at some point later in the playthrough. Not because I didn't have enough ink ribbons, mind you, but just because the unskippable cutscenes, the amount of progress you lose because of one wrong step, it's brutal. It's really brutal. However, let's talk about the biggest strength of this game. Now, what I didn't expect going into this is, this mansion's a fucking puzzle box in the best way possible. You'll go to a safe room and you take this moment to stop and think, okay, what doors haven't I tried yet? What keys have I gotten recently? What should I realistically bring with me? Even the inventory is part of the puzzle. Do I want to bring extra ammo or do I want to bring extra healing? Do I have enough room in my inventory to bring extra puzzle items to do multiple puzzles at once? What if I find items while I'm going to that room? You have to think about all of this all at once while you're planning your next move. I liked that a lot, actually. It had a very slow and intentional puzzle vibe to the game that I wasn't expecting. And I think that's the part that I took away from this experience is, damn, Resident Evil is a survival horror puzzle game. Plus, there's so much backtracking involved in the mansion that you start to feel like you know every step of this mansion. Now, this one is from the remake, this map that I'm in right now. But, like, I went through, you can go through the doors and explore this mansion. I remember there was a specific room I wanted to see. I just went to it. I knew the path. I think that's so cool that eventually you reach that point where it's like, yeah, I know this place. Plus, with the atmosphere, the music, and even the zombie placement, you start to learn. And it reaches a point, which is something I learned when I played the Dark Souls franchise, is you don't gotta kill everything. Sometimes it's smarter to not kill that zombie in that hallway. Is he really bothering you, or can you just run around him? Is he blocking a vital path you're going to be going to a lot? Is he constantly dealing damage to you every time you go through? Yeah, maybe you'll kill him. But it becomes more about strategy, dodging, like deciding this one live, this one die. And the last thing I want to talk about is how goofy this entire game was. Like, I was going into this expecting zombies. Everybody knows the zombies. What I ended up getting was evil plants and giant spiders and fucking giant snakes. And I was like, wait, this isn't just about zombies? It honestly made me shift my entire perspective on the franchise, because like I said, I knew Resident Evil, but I knew nothing about it. My understanding of this game went from, oh, it's a game about zombies, to, oh, it's government conspiracy and bioorganic weapons? Holy shit, bro. That's cool as hell. And I think the problem came from, in my mind, it was always adjacent to Silent Hill, because Silent Hill and Resident Evil were always like the main survival horror games. And I'd seen a lot about Silent Hill. It was just spooky monsters, but it was grounded in some realism. Surreal realism, but still. Overall, I would say this was a pretty solid game from start to finish. The second playthrough didn't really seem too worthwhile for me, but it was nice to see some different perspective through Jill's gameplay. There were some solid moments. Yes, I liked the Jill sandwich moment quite a bit. I understand the meme now. But yeah, I'd say give this game a shot. If you're a patient gamer and you can deal with some clunky controls or some slow movements, then I think this will be a good game for you. I think you should give it a try. And if you were on the fence about it before with interest in the Resident Evil franchise, but you weren't sure if it holds up well enough, well, consider this the universe telling you, give it a try. If you can look past its clunkiness and some of its flaws, I had a blast with this game, and I would recommend it to you guys as well. Again, you can catch me live playing through my BioSaga on Twitch every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm currently most of the way, maybe halfway through Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and boy, do I have opinions about this game. But you'll have to wait for them for the third episode. We'll get there. Before you go, consider dropping a subscribe and a like if you enjoyed this kind of content and you want to see my opinions on future Resident Evil games and other games that I stream over on Twitch. And for my main VRChat content, don't forget to follow my main channel, Nova Redux. And I'll see you guys all in the next Splash video. Goodbye for now. I've been Nova and you've been splashed. That's not a mainstay. I just wanted to say that.